Tax credits are government benefits that provide extra money to workers on low incomes, disabled workers, or people responsible for children. They were introduced so that people would be encouraged to go back to work by ensuring they'd be better off than if they were unemployed. Some 4.5 million people in the UK claim tax credits, 4 million of whom have children.
It was an attempt to try and ensure that people had a minimum standard of income, a minimum standard of living, even if they weren't earning sufficient money to pay all the bills, to live at least a basically reasonable life. I can absolutely see the argument that employers should be made to pay people a living wage. They should think about the costing of their products and the way that they're developing their services in a way that does produce enough money to pay people a living wage.
The government is keen to reform tax credits, which cost tens of billions of pounds every year. But last week their plan to cut them was dealt a blow by the House of Lords, who voted to delay the cuts and compensate those who would be affected. The Bishop of Portsmouth was among the peers that proposed an amendment to the bill in the Lords.
It's very good that the government is committed to moving us towards higher wages. The question is who's going to bear the cost and the price in the short term of making this move. Of course, companies should pay decent wages to all people. But as we move towards that, and as I have said a number of times, I welcome that move. Those who are actually in the short term going to be bearing the price and the cost of that are these people on low incomes, and not immediately the companies who perhaps should be considering whether their wage levels are appropriate or not. I feel strongly because I speak not as a politician, not as a party political person, but as someone who encounters, either myself or through the work of the Church of England parishes and clergy who are my colleagues, as someone who therefore sees what this means on the ground to ordinary individuals and families, very often with children. Those affected by these changes would be a very significant group in our society, people who are in work, who are trying to support their own lives and their families' lives. And it's estimated that there could be 4 million children affected in this way within the next few months.
Yet what will result from these amendments is as yet unclear. A Treasury spokesperson told Solent News Now, "The Chancellor has made clear that the government will listen about how we make a transition to a higher wage, lower tax and lower welfare economy he wants to see, and will announce his proposals in the autumn statement. But the end goal is clear. This country cannot have an unlimited welfare budget that squeezes out other areas of public expenditure." However, this has done little to appease critics of the reforms.
The way that this is being done is opposite to people's well-being. It is about a mechanism of reducing the government expenditure at the cost of poorer people, who are the people who receive the tax credits. And even with the raising of the minimum wage level, or to what they're calling a working wage, but it would be the new minimum wage, that still doesn't meet the amount that people would earn from tax credits, so they're going to be worse off.
Many people will be listening with concern come the autumn statement later this month for proof that George Osborne has listened to their worries. Charlotte Briere-Edney, that's Solent.